So yesterday I did a really comprehensive look at TRVL, and if you haven't seen my yesterday video, I do recommend having a look. And if you are charting and if you're doing analysis with me, then definitely have a look at it, because with the help of Altcoin Dreaming, I've been able to combine charts on TRVL. And in that video, basically this is the video, this one here, I explain how I came about the combined charts with this algorithm in the top to create a brand new chart. So I've been creating brand new charts. Actually, I've been looking at some other different charts as well, and I'm going to follow on that idea now with TRVL, because I think I'm getting some like really interesting information just looking at these combined charts, and I think that's going to be quite helpful for everyone who is looking at TRVL with me. So this was the chart I did yesterday. I've taken out KuCoin because I want to keep the launch data, okay? And then also what I did yesterday was I was able to calculate the all-time high based off the MEXC chart, but I was able to print it on this chart instead. Yeah, so it's a combined chart with the correct all-time high. So what we can see is that we've had a really nice reaction at the bottom of this value area, and this is the ETH chart, and we're showing a lot of strength against ETH because we've reclaimed the lows here. And as you can see against ETH, we're just printing green candles. Look, green. At the moment in this weekly time frame, it's green. So we're extremely bullish against ETH. You can see that there's a lot of positive sentiment against ETH. I wanted to see how that compares with some other charts actually, and I think I've got some interesting information. So the first one I wanted to compare was TRVL against SLERF, because I actually have a really substantial position in SLERF too. So you know, I'm interested in both. By far my greatest bag is TRVL. Like my biggest bag is TRVL. It's about 44% of my portfolio is TRVL. Yeah, I'm so bullish on this, you don't understand. And so, but I'm actually interested to see how it compares to some other positions that I have, and I was going to compare it with SLERF. So let me do it now. I'm going to use the same idea. I'm going to do a triple combined chart. So it's Bybit TRVL, Gate IO TRVL, MEXC TRVL divided by 3, and then here I'm going to use Bybit SLERF perpetual contract. And now the multiplier, I have no idea. I don't know what the multiplier should be. I think SLERF is running at about 100 million market cap or thereabouts. I think TRVL is running at about 13 million. I think there's like a factor of 10 in it. So I'm just going to times it by 10. I have no idea. I just times it by 10 to see what that gives me. And what I want to do actually is I'm going to add it to my section here. I don't want to get my charts too confused. There's a lot of charts here on TRVL. I don't want to confuse it too much. So how should I do that? Well, let me just add it in the first instance, and then add section. Which kind of separate them. TRVL versus. All right. So this is, I think this is quite interesting for me. Like, look, this is the chart TRVL versus SLERF. And naturally it only goes back to when SLERF launched. So that's when SLERF launched. And you do a kind of range pull here. Look. So naturally, if the price is going up, that's bullish, more bullish for TRVL. And you see here, I've done I'm not sure if this figure is right. So I know TRVL has 1 billion tokens. How many tokens has SLERF got? It's got I think it's got 500 million. Let me check. 300 million. Might be 300 million. Let me have a look. $500 million. So maybe it should be half. Should that be times 0.5? So 1 TRVL is 0.09 SLERF. Is that how it works? I think Altcoin Dreaming would be the one to figure that out and let me know. So I don't know exactly what that calculation should be, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a ratio anyway. It's all ratios. So let me just go back to my original one, which is just a times 10. And you can see, actually, it's quite interesting. You can see that TRVL against SLERF has been putting in higher lows. You can see that, can't you? I thought that was quite interesting. If this is the value area, you can see at the moment that TRVL is trying to flip this value area as support. And you can see that TRVL has reacted off the point of control and this imaginary trend line that I've drawn by hand. Yeah, so it's quite interesting, is it? Now I don't know if this is just we're just in some kind of range lock and maybe TRVL and SLERF are just going to do this for the rest of the bull market, or whether TRVL has the potential to actually be more bullish than SLERF. But at the moment it looks like it, to me it looks like TRVL is more bullish than SLERF, just simply because I can clearly see higher lows. In every dip, the low is getting higher and higher and higher. And also I can see that most of the volume is here at 1.51 on my chart. Most of the volume is there. So technically, I mean, in theory, you could, I mean, what's the range? What's the range from there to the top? It's about 87%. From there to the bottom there, it's about 41%. So, I mean, you could potentially trade the tokens like this. Like, it is possible that when if this just continues to range like that, to swap between one token and the other, and you still don't miss big moves, because everything moves against Bitcoin. Eventually, it's going all these small coins are going to go up against Bitcoin potentially. I thought that was quite interesting, and so I wanted to just keep an eye on that and see how that plays out or progresses. And then the other thing I wanted to have a look at is some other things, like there's some other tokens that I've been looking at, and so in today's stream I'm going to be looking at Fetch and Mu. Okay, so I wanted to have a look at both of them as well. So I'll do exactly the same thing. I don't really know if there's any analysis to be done here, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of looking at these different charts and finding that TRVL is actually quite bullish. Actually, maybe not Fetch and Mu. Let me just have a look at which other tokens here I could compare it to. Let me see. So here's one, Cake USD. Let's have a look at Cake. Let's see what's that would be Binance. Let's have a look. Binance, Cake US. Maybe this one. Again, I don't know what factor to use. Actually, I have no idea. Let's just do times 10 again. This is TRVL versus Cake. Again, you see we're in a sideways range, and it kind of, I don't know, it's quite interesting. I think it's quite interesting because for some reason you've got a range, higher lows, lower highs, and at a certain price you can see actually TRVL bounces. So it's better to be in TRVL. At certain places it's better to be in TRVL, and maybe at certain places it's better to be in Cake. based on this idea, you know, we've gone from top to on this value area, we've gone from top to bottom once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You see that? It's just done that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times. What's the range here? 80%. So in the space of going back to 2022, they've both gone sideways with respect to each other, but actually they've moved against each other 80% down. What's that? No, 40% down, 80% up, 40% down, 80% up. You see that? So as it goes up, it's better to be in TRVL. As it comes down, it's better to be in cake. And you can see it's, you could argue maybe it's better to be in cake now. Or if you're more bullish on TRVL, you could say, well, when it's at the lows here, I'm going to be in TRVL. And then you take profit at the highs. It depends on your base currency, isn't it? Now, we're kind of expecting a breakout against, we are expecting against Bitcoin. So if I go back to Bitcoin here, this is back against Bitcoin. My view, my target or my destination for Bitcoin is the all-time high. Yeah. So there is no range here. It's a very different structure, isn't it? Against Bitcoin, TRVL is in some kind of descending structure. And eventually what I want to see is a breakout and a pump right up to the top. That's what I want to see with this against Bitcoin. But against other tokens, I'm not sure about SLERF because there's not enough data. But if I put cake back on, add section, sorry, I lost it because I didn't add it. If I put cake back on, now none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling people what to do or how to do it, but I do think that there are opportunities to be had here. And so this one is cake, isn't it? No, that's SLERF. This one is cake. You see, when it comes to TRVL versus cake, it's obviously not looking to break out, is it? It's just going sideways. But you could potentially be more bullish on TRVL, and so therefore at the lows you'll definitely be in TRVL, and then at the highs you might take profit, and that'd be a good way if this just continues to go sideways. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what it means. It's quite interesting actually, because the point of control changes when I go. There's been a lot of volume put in. See, on the daily time frame, the point of control is in the lows. But when I go to a higher time frame, the weekly time frame, you see the point of control is in the highs. That means this week has changed or shifted the point of control right back to the lows for some reason. Anyway, these are kind of food for thought. Maybe if TRVL does kind of explode, maybe what we would be looking for is for this to kind of find resistance at the same time here, at the same time in other charts too. And so that's kind of what I'll be looking for higher time frame resistance. I won't just be looking at TRVL against USDT. I'll be looking at TRVL against Bitcoin initially, ETH, and some of these other tokens to see if they all come to resistance at the same time, at the same place. And so I'll be doing this over the next few months on a regular basis. And so yeah, that was my kind of interesting discovery. So I was having a look at that. Let me just have a look at some other things. That was SLERF, that was cake. What else could be interesting? Let's do it against Fetch, because obviously Dtravel has just joined Fetch. Again, I don't know what factor of number to use here. I have no idea. I'm just doing times 10 for the time being. Maybe I have to calculate that. I don't know how to calculate that yet. This is Fetch. Let me add that. I didn't add that. Let's have a look at Fetch. So again, against Fetch, that'll be quite interesting, won't it? Because we've just joined Fetch. Dtravel's just joined Fetch, and again you can see against Fetch it's very similar to ETH and Bitcoin, in that the structure is some kind of downward falling structure, isn't it? Whether it's a channel, whether it's a wedge, it's some kind of downward falling structure. What's interesting is that we're back above the point of control on this chart, and we are in the value area. We're back above the, I would consider this to be quite bullish, to get back above the point of control, to be within the value area, reclaiming the point of control. I consider this bullish. For the point of control to be in the low of the range, I consider that bullish. And the same idea applies if we do eventually get a breakout. Naturally, you can see there's a nice SR flip there at the value area high. You don't really have to be a rocket scientist to see these things. It's pretty easy to see. So one might think that'll be a good place to take TRVL back into Fetch. So this gives you some options. You don't have to just sell it into USD. You can be bullish on crypto. You can take profit from TRVL and you can bring it into Fetch, you know. And then if you want to, you'd have to use USDT as a medium of transfer. Yeah, you'd have to first sell it to USDT and then buy Fetch to enable that transaction. But, you know, if you come into resistance here and you're taking TRVL into Fetch, you know, then you could be looking to reaccumulate TRVL as it pulls back against Fetch, you know. So there are some options here just by using these chart combinations. A little bit of work, but, you know, some people might find it easier to trade like this rather than just look at the USD chart and not be like, a lot of people in crypto don't want to go to USDT because they're still bullish on the whole crypto sphere and the crypto market, but they still want to increase the value of their token. They want to increase and grind TRVL, and this actually might be a good method of doing that. But here I can easily see that there's probably some kind, I'm imagining the all-time high is somewhere there, and so I don't know, maybe it's 50%. There's a little bit of an SR flip there somewhere here. You can see it, can't you? You can see the value area high. There's some kind of SR flip going on there. I don't know where this lands, to be honest with you. I'd have to calculate it based on the launch. Again, I'd have to go back to MEX. So let me just do it quickly for the sake of the stream. I'll get rid of the MEX, everything except MEX. That will give you the all-time high, because on MEX the all-time high was correct. So you can just take that top figure, whatever it is, coordinates. Then I can go back to the Fetch chart, Fetch, and then I can put my line back in, and I can just paste in the coordinates. So based on, according to Fetch, that's the correct figure. Based on the MEXC chart, that's the correct figure. Let me just label it as well. Sugar, let me just label it so I don't lose that. There you go. So that's the correct figure. The all-time low, as we can see against Fetch, it was this pivot that was put in here. See that? All right. And then, yeah, there is a little bit of an SR flip going on here. It kind of, it looks slightly higher up. 382. 382 is an SR flip. You can see that there. There's an SR flip there. And the 236 is an SR flip too. You see that? There's a little bit of an SR flip going on. So all these higher time frame log scale fib retracements are acting as SR flips. And again, because we're dealing with a downward falling pattern like a wedge, my initial target on any kind of big breakout move will be the golden pocket. But my higher time frame target is going to be the all-time high. I imagine this whole thing as a range. Yeah. And naturally, if we can break above 50%, which is what I'd want to see happen if possible. I don't know how that's going to happen. but then I'll be looking to take it to the top of the range. So when it comes to these types of charts where you're looking at some kind of falling wedge, I'm trying to look for a breakout to take us just to the top. I'm not looking for price discovery. I'm looking for a breakout to take us to the top. If that coincides with a chart like Fetch and ETH and Bitcoin at the same time, at the same place, this whole thing is going to become extremely easy, isn't it? It's going to be very easy to look for exits or to scale out at the right place. Yeah. But when it comes to other charts, I'm not necessarily looking for that kind of price action. Like here, what is this one? This one's against cake. If this does kind of suddenly explode out, you're actually looking for something else because you're in a sideways range against cake with higher lows. And so potentially you're looking for a 5-wave move into price discovery against cake, something like that, a little bit different. And then again with SLERF, potentially the same thing. Potentially we're looking for this, for me, is looking straight, really more bullish against SLERF, but potentially looking for the same thing. You're potentially looking for, you know, some kind of 5-wave move into price discovery against SLERF, potentially. Less so, it's going to be very different. All right, so that's TRVL. Yeah, any other questions? Tomorrow is going to be the Dtravel update. Oh, what's this? Let's have a look at Dtravel. Let's just see if there's anything interesting. October the 22nd, that was a couple of days ago. Yeah, so no new posts here. Let me have a look at the Telegram quickly for those of you that aren't on Telegram. New booking processed. Actually, I posted this today. I think it's quite interesting, so I'm just going to read it. I saw this today on Facebook, on the Airbnb group. It's like a large private group. And see, look, read this. How Airbnb destroyed our business in 35 days. I'm just going to read it for you. I never imagined that after years of dedication and trust in Airbnb, my business and livelihood would be dismantled in just 35 days. You should have asked me, I would have told you. Sorry. If you knew me, I would have told you. My business was built from the ground up. As an immigrant arriving in 2015, I invested everything into creating a company that managed hundreds of properties, earning thousands of 5-star reviews and becoming a top-rated superhost. Well done. We provided jobs, housing, and unforgettable guest experiences. Airbnb was at the core of that success until they weren't. On September the 18th, so a month ago, our account was suspended without any clear explanation. Now, 35 days have passed with no meaningful updates, no outlined steps, no due process. Everything we built has come to a halt. Our future bookings were cancelled, and we have been left without answers. This isn't just about a business, it's about livelihoods of employees, partners, and families who depend on us. It feels as though Airbnb has sidelined us without reason, holding all the power and providing none of the transparency. Sounds like a totalitarian regime. It sounds like, dare I say it, it sounds like Russia or China. I'm sharing this to bring attention to the lack of accountability in the short-term rental industry. Businesses like mine are being crushed overnight, and the human cost behind these decisions is being ignored. We deserve answers, and we deserve due process. To my fellow hosts, I hope my story serves as a wake-up call about how easily everything can be taken away, I guess. So it's a really sad story. I can tell you for a fact that it happens a lot. it's happening every day or every other day. I see stories like this on these forums. Yeah, that's why I'm so fucking crazy bullish on Dtravel. You don't understand how bullish I am. When I say that over 40% of my portfolio is in TRVL, there's a reason behind that, because I've been a super host on Airbnb for over 8 years, like 10 years, and it's longer than 8 years. On my Airbnb profile it says 8 years, but the reality is, and this is the story, I started doing Airbnb on my mum's profile first. My mum and I, we started it together, but we used her profile, and I got her into it because I started it first when I was living in France back in 2012. And what happened was that without any reason, 2 years after her profile had been created and she had 3 properties, we were running them together, Airbnb closed her account exactly like this. No explanation, nothing. They just delisted all her properties. And then I tried to complain to a very important, very powerful person who at the time worked for Airbnb. I'm going to find the email for you so I can show you. Yeah, because I've got a record. Yeah. I'm going to show you on my email. Okay, I'm just going to change my screen back to the web. I'm going to show you here. So this is the guy, Chip.Conley at Airbnb on behalf of Chip Conley, Airbnb, 18/20/2016. See that? Anyway, I'm not going to go through the email, but long story short, they didn't give any adequate reason. They just cancelled her account. You know, this is the guy. That was back in the day where Airbnb was this guy, where Airbnb was actually pro host, and they were trying to increase their stock, and they were siding on behalf of hosts. And this guy, he was he worked closest with CEO Brian. He worked closest with the CEO Brian Chesky as a mentor. Can you believe it? He was a mentor. And in 2016, he couldn't help, or didn't want to help. Yeah. And for no reason, they deactivated my mum's account. She was a super host. She was 5-star, I think. I'm not sure, but I think she was. And they canceled her account. And so I can tell you for a fact that because this has happened to me, I already knew what was going to happen to this person. And it's happening all the time. And that's why I'm really bullish on Dtravel, because we're solving a real problem where right now people's businesses can be shut down overnight by Airbnb. There's no process for getting those sites reactivated, and you have no rights. And the interesting thing about Airbnb is that when you're on Airbnb, they own your data. That's the really sad thing about it. So this is me, yeah, and all of these reviews, 173, none of them belong to me. They all belong to Airbnb. So at one time in the future, if for better or for worse, I get shut down, I'm going to lose all of this. I'm going to lose all my reviews. I'm going to lose all my records. I'm going to lose everything. Yeah. So I'm building a business for them, and I'm getting nothing in return except possibly the promise of guests to come. And actually, it's not that lucrative anyway. That's why I'm bullish on Dtravel, because I think in the future what's going to happen is that a lot of people are going to shift and move away from Airbnb to Dtravel, and especially as travelers and hosts and everyone starts to discover that they could just do exactly the same thing and search for properties and book properties in the same way as they can on Airbnb, they can do the same thing on Dtravel. Now this is the first version, or the first iteration. This is a beta of our decentralized application. Yeah, trust me, in about 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever years to come, we'll be competing against Airbnb. We'll be taking a chunk out of Airbnb's market share. I'm so positive about that. It's only a matter of time, and it's just about working hard to get there. And so, you know, when you look at TRVL's market cap now, you're only looking at a market cap of 13 million at the moment. In the future, that's gonna, if all the tokens are released, obviously that's much higher. It's at 40 million, but that's going to take a few years to get there. So at the moment, we're looking at 30 million. When you look at Airbnb's market cap, at the moment, you're looking at $84 billion. Yeah, but this is a real world business, and so the objective for us is for Dtravel to build the real world business aspect aside. Everything else is icing on the cake. The core value will come with the real world network, and so as the price of TRVL goes up, so will the exposure of Dtravel in the real world, and so will the growth of this network that we're building together. Okay, and so we're at the lows, and when I look at the charts, I'll go to a proper chart now, a normal chart, a USD chart. When you look at the charts on a multi-year scale, multi-year range, I'm seeing that we're at the lows. These are the lows. It looks like we've put in a triple bottom. It looks like it. And you know, in the context of USDT, again, the same idea. I think I'm more bullish on against USDT than I am against, say, Bitcoin or ETH. Yeah. I think on USDT we have the potential to break the all-time high, even if it's just for a short period of time, because I'm not seeing the same kind of falling wedge. You see, against BTC, I'm seeing a falling wedge. This is against BTC. So naturally, my target is where the top of the wedge, isn't it? It's to just reclaim the whole volume back up to the top. But when it comes to USD, I'm seeing something different. I'm not seeing a falling wedge. I'm seeing a higher time frame bottoming pattern. So if we do get a breakout, I'll be looking for I'll be looking for 5 waves, but I'm looking for higher prices, much higher against USD. So I am actually looking for a higher. But we have to see what happens. And I think largely it's got to do with Bitcoin as well. Or Dreaming sending me a chart. Oh, this is interesting. So he's sending me a chart to compare it against the crypto cap. Right, let's have a look. I hope it looks good. I hope it's good. I hope it's not bad. Let's do it. Let's go. Is that log? Yeah, shit. So that's interesting, huh? The scale is a bit weirder. It's all zeros. How do I change that? There's no scale, huh? I can't change that, can I? Yeah, you can. There you go. That's 10 billion. Let me add another zero, another zero, another zero. Let me just add 2 more zeros. That's a little bit better, isn't it? I like numbers. So let me just add some zeros. Let me delete that. Not section. Add symbol. Get rid of one of those. I wonder if what is that value of the crypto cap? All right, let's just leave it for that, like that for now. So again, you've used KuCoin as well. I'm going to get rid of KuCoin. I like to see I want to see the launch. So first what I'll do is I'll do what I did before. I'll use MEX. and then I can get the all-time high, because that will be my initial target. On this chart, I'll use this scale, whatever the scale is. And then go back to this chart. Well, actually, maybe I can just leave KuCoin on this one. All I needed was the MEX data. And so when you do a fib pull, it just makes life easier because you can just pull it from the all-time high to this low here to get the right fib levels. Just check them to see if they correspond. Golden pocket, yes. 50%, yes. 382, yes there, yes, 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 maybe yes. 236. It's a little grey area. It's a little bit of a range here. You can see it's a little bit of a range. And then we just pull the volume. So yeah, this is quite bullish as well. So altcoin dreaming saying others is the market cap of crypto minus the top 10. So you're basically what we're looking at is TRVL compared to all the other tokens minus the top 10. So this is looking, so basically it's better to be in TRVL compared to any other altcoin minus the top 10. That's what you're suggested based on this, because we're reclaiming the point of control, and at the very least we'll be looking to take this to the value area high. At the very least, that's kind of what I'm imagining now based on what I'm seeing here. But again, this might correspond to something similar to Bitcoin. You have some kind of falling pattern, and what we're looking for is a breakout to the high, to the all-time high. And so based on percentages, we're looking to increase the value. He says he's not suggesting that. maybe I'm putting those words in your mouth. All right, let's agree to not disagree, or not agree to disagree. Let's not even have that argument. Let me just take that back. He's not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that either. I'm not suggesting it's better to be in TRVL than anything else. But at the very least, we know that if TRVL does get to the top, that will be a good place to take profit. That's really what I'm focused on here. I'm focused on profit. I'm focused on where it's a good place to take profit on TRVL, technically based on ratios. But I mean, look, the value area is based on volume with comparison to the comparative chart that TRVL is being compared to. It doesn't mean anything really. What we do want to see though is these ratios and how they play out. Yeah, maybe this is a similar chart. Yeah, so I'll keep that. I'll leave this one with KuCoin. All right, so we got a few charts here to have a look at. It'll make it more interesting, won't it? All right, so let's move on.